frequently asked questions for students registered with the Disability Office availing of reasonable accommodations in remote and online assessments. I am registered with the Disability Office. Will I have access to reasonable accommodations for remote assessment? Yes, if you were approved for reasonable accommodations by the Disability Office for examinations, you will still be entitled to these for remote assessment. However, the move to remote assessment may have changed your needs, or the examination accommodations previously approved may not be as relevant now that assessments are online. If you have any queries about your examination accommodations, please contact your disability advisor directly or the Disability Office at disability.office@mu.ie. Do I still get extra time for examinations if I was approved for it previously? Yes, all students registered with the Disability Office and who have been approved for reasonable accommodations will now get extra time of 15 minutes per hour for timed exams and Moodle quizzes. This is not necessary for longer assignments, as it is assumed that students are not working on the assignment for all of the time. The table below details the type of assessment and the action taken to implement extra time for timed exams. In written assignments, no extra time is applied. In a take-home exam of 1 day or more, no extra time is applied, but of course a student may spend extra time on the task itself within this period. In a timed exam of between 2 and 4 hours, extra time of 15 minutes per hour of the exam is added. In a Moodle quiz, extra time of 15 minutes per hour of the exam is added. What exam supports do I get for in-class assessments? The examination accommodations that were agreed by the Disability Office also apply to the in-class assessments. Generally, students are required to provide 2 weeks' notice to their academic department and lecturer if they require examination accommodations for in-class assessment. Please be sure to contact your department and lecturer as soon as possible. Do I still get extra time for a rest break and/or bathroom break in an examination if I've been approved for these previously? Yes, this has been factored into the extra time of 15 minutes per hour for timed exams and Moodle quizzes. I have a 2-hour exam that has now been scheduled for a 3-hour period. How much extra time do I get? A timed exam may be given a longer duration to allow for the possibility that some students may have difficulty in accessing material or uploading responses. The extra time for students registered with the Disability Office will only be applied to the original exam time. For example, students who are registered with the Disability Office who are sitting an exam scheduled for 2 hours but which has now been given a 3-hour window would only be eligible for a total of 30 minutes extra time, that is 15 minutes per hour of the exam. The table below details the extra time provided for 1, 2 and 3-hour exams. How will my other reasonable accommodations be applied in examinations now? The use of a PC. Students should use their own devices. Students who do not have access to an appropriate device should contact the Disability Office, who will liaise with them and their department to consider their options or identify a possible alternative assessment. Use of a reader or shared reader. Students should use read and write screen reading software on their own computer or the accessibility features in Office 365. Students whose assessment materials cannot be read by the software, for example, where there is mathematical notation or where the paper is in a language other than English, should contact the Disability Office, who will liaise with them and their academic department to consider how best to implement this. Dragon Naturally Speaking. Students have access to Dragon Naturally Speaking software on their own devices. Use of enlarged papers. Students should use the magnification features as required on their own device. The use of Scribe. As an assessment will be delivered and submitted in an electronic format, scribes may now not be necessary. However, students who are unable to use a keyboard or handwrite their submission should contact the Disability Office, who will liaise with them and their department to consider how best to implement this. Smaller shared venue. This does not apply in the remote environment. Marking guidelines. Marking guidelines for examiners will be applied as usual when correcting scripts from students with specific learning difficulty and students who are deaf or hard of hearing. How can I find out the details of the reasonable accommodations in examinations that I have been approved for? The Disability Office at Maynooth University shares relevant information with students with disabilities via Student Web, which is available on the For Current Students section of maynoothuniversity.ie. Click on Student Web. This will bring you to a login screen where you can enter your username and password. You can then view the information on your confirmed disability supports by accessing the menu titled Disability Supports. Within Disability Supports, you can see the details of your individual supports. Your reasonable accommodations, examination accommodations, and disability advisor are listed here. How can I find out who my disability advisor is? Information on your disability advisor can be viewed on the Disability Confirmed Supports folder of Student Web as outlined in question 6. If I use an electronic reader, will it read equations or diagrams or languages other than English? Please note that as with previous examinations, the screen reader will not read equations or diagrams or languages other than English. Do marking guidelines apply to online or remote assessments? Yes, marking guidelines apply to all timed assessments. Students with specific learning difficulties, for example dyslexia, and students who are deaf have particular difficulty with spelling and grammar and can be disadvantaged when assessment takes the form of written examination. For this reason, the university has marking guidelines to provide a framework for marking scripts of such students. Students approved for marking guidelines are identified by departments, and examiners will apply these marking guidelines to scripts of students who have been approved for this examination accommodation. I have a significant disability and I'm unsure if the examination accommodations previously approved are relevant for remote and online examinations. You should contact your disability advisor or the Disability Office at disability.office@mu.ie to discuss. The Disability Office will also be contacting high needs students directly to discuss their examination accommodations and will liaise with relevant departments in this regard to consider the options available to implement your reasonable accommodations. We are here to help. Please contact us. Students who need further advice or support or who wish to discuss a particular accommodation can contact their disability advisor or email us at disability.office@mu.ie. We'd like to wish you the best of luck in your upcoming examinations.